So the reviews for Stranger Things Season 5 are slowly trickling in, and it is definitely interesting. How did we get here? I think I have an answer, so let's talk about it. Stranger Things 5 is now officially the show's lowest ranked season of all time, with episode 7, The Bridge, being the worst ranked episode, beating the infamous The Lost Sister episode from season 2, and we all know how well that went over. So what happened? How did Netflix's golden goose fall this far from grace? Well, if you ask me, it's because it rejected everything that once made it great. It's a cautionary tale of how easily passion can become product, and just how important authenticity really is when it comes to storytelling. On July 15th, 2016, Netflix dropped the first season of Stranger Things, and while its success wasn't even guaranteed, it quickly became a cultural phenomenon. The imagery of bikes, Eggos, and the iconic alphabet wall defined a generation itself, becoming pop culture legends. It stole the hearts of millions because its formula was foolproof. Older audiences can enjoy its nostalgic 80s charm, and younger audiences can connect with its younger cast. I, myself, if you're, wondering where I fall into all of this, I am the second category. Obviously, because I hope nobody thinks I grew up in the 80s. Everyone thinks, for some reason, that I'm like 16 years old. 24, actually, with a almost master's degree. So, being the same age as the Stranger Things cast, I really felt like I got to grow up with these characters. And let me tell you, I got the Stranger Things bug bad, okay? There are still traces of this obsession all over my room, okay? I'm wearing the sweatshirt right now. It has been my favorite show for years, and I'm one of those people who are obsessed. I could tell you anything and everything about this show. But even I was not too impressed so far. I know the final episode hasn't came out yet when I was recording this. Can I talk? Jesus. Even though the final episode is not out yet, I have not been impressed with what I've seen so far, and I think it's because I'm a fan, I know what made the show so great to begin with. Along with appealing to a massive audience, it was charming. It was gritty, dark, and felt more like an indie project than a Netflix original. But it was also heartfelt, funny, and the characters drew you in. It was the perfect love letter to the past. It had the same feeling that made The Goonies, Stand By Me, and It so iconic. It was simple. It was just a group of nerdy kids fighting a monster. But it also represented a specific group of people. It rooted for the underdog. Stranger Things used to be a show that represented outcasts, the people who never quite fit in anywhere else. And whether you grew up in the 80s or not, that's something everyone can relate to. We've all felt like an outsider at some point, and it was a way audience could see themselves in the characters. Point being, it was simple. It reminded audiences of a simpler time, and everything just felt small. The nostalgia is what made it so great, and I also feel like the nostalgia also led to its downfall, but we'll talk about that later. It was perfectly wrapped up in one season. Kids find monster, they defeat monster, and they all become closer in the process. The magic of friendship and all that. We can leave it there, right? Well, unfortunately for Stranger Things, it got a little too successful, and Netflix saw their next cash cow, and by God, we have to milk this cow for all that it's worth. What was supposed to be a one-season show quickly got 4 more seasons, a book series, a comic book series, a video game, a whole Broadway musical, and a whole bunch of marketing. Hey guys, Editing Leighton here. I just wanted to mention that they're also doing an animated spin-off series, because of course, I figured somebody's gonna bring it up. I was just stupid and forgot to mention it, but they're doing this as well, because of course there's a spin-off. And so the fate of Stranger Things was sealed. The Duffer Brothers were suddenly tasked with stretching a rather simple storyline across 5 whole seasons. And their struggle to come up with new and bigger storylines each season just became more painfully obvious as this went on. And to appease the Netflix gods and give them all the money in the world, Stranger Things soon left behind what made it so special to begin with. The obvious course of action was to make everything feel bigger. The same simple little story just wasn't gonna cut it. We don't need one little Demogorgon anymore. We need something more. We need something bigger, better. And with the introduction of the Mind Flayer in season 2, it did feel bigger, but it wasn't unrecognizable. Not just yet. It still had that small familiar feeling that we all grew to love. It still had all the characters that we loved, even though Will's bowl cut was a little intense. In my opinion, if we were trying to preserve the legacy of the show, which why would we want to do that? Why would we want to preserve a legacy and preserve quality of something when there's money to be made? Stupid person for thinking that. If we wanted to preserve what Stranger Things was, I think we needed to stop it after season 2, and I mean that with everything in me. Ending of season 2 would have been fine. Okay, that would have been a satisfactory ending that still felt like the show that we loved, but Netflix wanted more. The people wanted more. So what did the Duffer Brothers do? They gave us more. For better or for worse. Season 3 is when we get a glimpse of the monster Stranger Things was going to become. And no, I'm not talking about the gross meat monster, even though that was disgusting. This is when they start to lose me a little bit, and I don't think I'm alone in that. When I talk to other fans and I see discussions online, it's pretty much understood that while the show visually looks great in season 3, it's not the best storytelling. And I think that's fair. In season 4, however, we strayed even farther from the original blueprint. This time around, our villain speaks. He's human. And I remember seeing Vecna for the first time and feeling a little weird about it just because it felt so not what I was used to. It didn't feel like Stranger Things anymore. I was so used to the bad guys literally being faceless that I didn't know how a more humanized villain would work, but it worked for it, okay? So I was willing to give it a chance. Also, Pennywise, that's all I'll say on that. But something was boiling under the surface, an issue that finally bubbled over in season 5. Stranger Things got too big for its britches, okay? To make things more exciting, to make things feel bigger, we abandoned what made Stranger Things Stranger Things. Stranger Things was so great because it did feel like a cult classic. Had we stopped it early on, I really feel like it would have eventually gotten that title easily. And that is where it thrives. Simplicity is where this story thrives because that's what it is. It's an amazing story. Season 1 is great, but it's not this over-the-top complex thing. But when we are constantly adding on to this world and adding characters that we refuse to kill, by the way, we get this picture. And nobody wants this. Stranger Things 5, to me, feels like a cheap, watered-down version of what it used to be, and it has no shame in poking and prodding and constantly reminding you of why you loved it to begin with. Like, they are dying for another Kate Bush moment. It's almost sickening. We loved these characters because they were a bit dorky, so the writers constantly feel like they have to make the characters dorky. They now make the characters say some ridiculous cringe line every 2 seconds, making me feel like I'm watching some sort of Disney Channel special instead of Stranger Things.
I say kick away. Stop this meathead from reproducing and further infecting the world with his unique brand of idiocy.
That means you haven't known the triumphs and defeats, the epic highs and lows of high school football.
And this also makes the characters feel very unnatural. Take Robin, for example, whose shirt I'm wearing right now. Thank you, Robin. A once cool, laid-back girl who occasionally had a witty quip every now and again is now spitting lines like she's been lobotomized because Netflix caught wind that most people thought she was kind of funny.
After all, this was a natural phenomenon never before seen by man.
But she's not the only one that feels different this time around. In fact, most of them feel a little weird. I feel like most of them are just mere husks of their former selves. I mean, my God, Mike Wheeler, I would not be surprised if somebody kicked him over at some point in the finale and come to find it out he's been a cardboard cutout this entire time. I'm sorry, Mike Wheeler, but your job is to just sit there and look pretty. Hey, I don't make the rules. And while this show is desperately trying to remind us why we loved it to begin with, it is also shoving marketing down our throats. I mean, I know the whole Coca-Cola ad in season 3 was bad, but the Gatorade scene this season, my God, it hurts.
Gatorade for Elle's battery.
So is it Gatorade?
Sure thing. But I don't think it's gonna go too well with peanut butter.
Bopper?
You can always tell when they write something in that they think that they'll sell a lot of merch of. Like, this season it's the rubber chicken, but nobody really cares about that. But whatever, girl. It's so obvious that they're trying to cash in on the love that we once had for these characters, and it just leaves a poor taste in my mouth. And it also comes across as incredibly cheap, which might be due to the possible budget cuts, because my god, what are these scenes anymore?
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
The constant need to be bigger, better, and fresher not only cheapens the story, but it also severely bloats it. This season is so overly stuffed that not even Sean Levy knows what's going on in his own show, and the Duffer Brothers are so far in over their heads with this thing. You can tell they've just been writing it as they go along, but they want you to believe that they're these masterminds that have been planning this since day one, and it's like, no, you're not actually. You're actually this. They've also proven that they're not that great of writers. Hey, I'm sorry. I know that's a bit subjective, but when it gets to the point that your fans think that Netflix cut out hours of footage because the end result was so bad, maybe there's something going on. They're constantly forgetting their own storyline, the personality of their characters, and recycling through things that we've seen before. They have to constantly clarify what happened because the scenes in the actual show are so muddled. Hey, so guys, I have a degree in psychology. You know, I'm not into, making films or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure the biggest rule is show, don't tell. I'm just spitballing here. It would be so much better if they took every scene where a character over-explains the plan, and they actually did said plan and showed us the plan. It would be significantly better. Guys, this is us, and this is Vecna. You get it now? And this is Will Byers. It seems like the Duffer Brothers have bit off far more than what they can chew, and they just aren't competent enough to write themselves out of it. I find this clip of Sean Levy so funny, like, check it out.
When you invest in characters and story for years of your life, and then they fail you at the end by being either tone deaf to what brought you to that moment or disloyal to the spirit that made you love that storytelling, that's such a bitter disappointment.
It's like a message from the beyond. A warning of what's to come. Everything they said that they didn't want this show to be, it became that. And I think that's really symbolic of the overall message that I'm trying to send here. This is what happens when you turn art into a product, when you cash in nostalgia for brand deals. The Duffer Brothers don't have any reason to be afraid or care about the criticisms and the backlash that this show is receiving. They've already gotten their checks, okay? It does not matter. I mean, let's be real. How hungry can you actually be to deliver a good, solid product when you've already gotten the cash and success is basically guaranteed at this point? Stranger Things turned on its authenticity. It turned on the very fan base that put it on such a high pedestal. We live in an era where everything is an ad. Everything is marketable. Everything is trying to sell us something. And with the rise of AI, this is where authenticity thrives. Because that stands out to us. When somebody's being real, that shows. And I think that's what drawn us to Stranger Things to begin with. It was something different, but now it's exactly like everything else. Thank you, capitalism. That's so great. So there has been my review / commentary of Stranger Things Season 5. Once again, I haven't seen the final season as of recording this. I don't have much hope, though. I doubt that they can wrap all of these issues up in one episode, but who knows. Hey, stranger things have happened. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like and subscribe to join the Groovy Graveyard. Shout out to my patrons over on Patreon, and I will see you in the next one.